And welcome to Cobb County's Donuts with Democrats. I'm Jackie Bettedapur, the chair of the Cobb County Democrats, and I, along with the executive board, am so glad that you're joining us this morning. We're being joined by Matthew Yarborough, who our second vice chair, who is out at the field office this morning, kicking off canvassing shifts for the municipal elections. And Sharon Marshall, our treasurer. Sharon, are you in town? Or are you still out at Jekyll Beach?
I'm back in town.
Okay, great. You look all rested and suntan, so I hope you had a great vacation. Yeah. So we're having today what is hoped to be our last virtual meeting. But as we've learned, the best laid plans, you have to remain flexible. So especially when dealing with this pandemic. So hope for the best, plan for the worst. But in the vein of hoping for the best, we've reserved the Smyrna Community Center starting in January. But we'll closely track the pandemic infection and hospitalization rates in Cobb as we get closer to the end of the year. So fingers crossed, this is our last virtual Donuts with Democrats, but stay tuned. So for those watching on Facebook, I encourage you to share this live feed with your network in your Facebook groups. Help us spread the word about voting in Cobb County and these important local elections. So we are 24 days out from Election Day, November 2nd. Do we have screen share? I'm having troubles going live here. Are you guys seeing the slide presentation?
We can see your slides, Jackie.
Okay, great. I got to get this fixed out here. Let me see if I can get this. For some reason, I can't go big screen, but let me see. Here we go. Okay, we're all set. So we are 24 days out from Election Day. And early voting starts this coming Tuesday. Absentee ballots start getting mailed out on Monday to those who requested them already. And as always, we encourage you to make a vote plan. In person, early, absentee, Election Day, know your options. And we'll get into more details on that towards the end of the program. I wanted to point out that every Cobb County voter has something to vote for at this election, not just those people living in the cities listed. The 1% sales tax to fund capital investments in our schools, EdSPLOST, is on everybody's ballot. So an important initiative that we encourage everyone to get out and vote on and make their voices heard. So there's a lot of discussion around EdSPLOST in the county right now. Representative David Wilkerson spoke out at a Cobb delegation meeting this week, conveying concerns about the dysfunction and lack of fiscal accountability with the current Cobb school board. He went on to say that the current EdSPLOST does not expire until 2023, giving the school board ample time to put their house in order without jeopardizing school funding. On the other side, the Cobb Chamber of Commerce, representing business and construction interests, has mounted a vote yes on EdSPLOST campaign. So the Mapleton Improvement Coalition will be hosting a Zoom forum for members of the community in order to discuss the upcoming EdSPLOST, which will be before voters on this ballot November 2nd. This forum will be held on October 12th, starting promptly at 7 p.m. Registration is required to participate, and you must register before 12 p.m. on October 12th. I'll go ahead and read the announcement that Mick put out. It said, this discussion will feature parents as well as members of the education community, and they will discuss their views and thoughts on this particular ballot measure. These panelists represent a range of views as to this particular EdSPLOST, in order to provide the community with a balanced view of this ballot measure. Panelists will be asked questions by a moderator, asking questions that you, the members of the community, submitted at the time you register to attend this forum. This subject is critical to our community, and thus we would encourage you to register for this event with the Zoom link and input a question for our panelists as well. So we have loaded this up on our web page, on the home page. If you scroll down, you will find this announcement and a registration link. So if you go to cobbdemocrats.org, you can easily find all that and join this very important issue forum. So today, at our last Donuts meeting on September 18th, the Cobb Democrats hosted a candidate forum featuring the Marietta Mayor and City Council races, as well as the Marietta City School Board races. A recording of that meeting is available on our YouTube channel, Cobb County Democrats, in the event that you were not able to see that forum last month. Our program today is focused on the Acworth and Kennesaw municipal races. All candidates in contested races in those two cities were invited to participate today. And we are excited to welcome Antonio Jones, who is running for the Kennesaw Post 4 council seat, and Jonathan Fred Bothers, who's running for the Kennesaw Post 5 city council seat. We'll talk with them in a bit, but first I wanted to introduce our special guest speaker, Sarah Gazelle, the State Democratic Party appointee to the Georgia Board of Elections. So good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Jackie, and good morning, Democrats. I'm so excited to hear that this is probably the last remote meeting. I'm really excited to be able to see people face to face and do this sort of thing in person. So I wanted to talk just a few minutes this morning about first what the state election board is, what it does, because most people don't really know that, and how what we're going to be seeing over the next few weeks are going to be the first time almost entirely statewide that we'll see an election under SB 202. Because one of the two roles of the state election board is, in fact, to write rules and regulations that our law, that it really implement our laws in a practical way. So we write the regulations or draft the regulations that the counties and sometimes voters have to adhere to when applying the new law. And then on the flip side of that, we also hear cases where it looks like there's been a violation of an election law, rule, or regulation, and then refer them on for further due process by the Attorney General if that's what's necessary, if we did find a violation, or in some cases it was minor. At any rate, those are the two main responsibilities of the state election board: drafting rules and regulations and hearing violations of them and disposing of those. So like I said, and as Jackie mentioned, early voting starts on Monday for municipal elections and countywide elections. And there are more than 120 counties across the state of Georgia that are holding elections right now. And that means this is the first stress test of SB 202. And there are a number of changes that you as voters will be seeing in the way you are able to cast your ballot. The very first one is that absentee ballots have not even been mailed out yet. It has narrowed significantly, not just for application, but also for the mailing. Counties are not allowed to mail out those absentee ballots until this Monday for municipal elections. For statewide and federal elections, they have about 3 extra days, so they would have gone out on Friday. It's a good thing that the deadline isn't until Monday, because in fact the envelopes did not arrive in the state until Friday, and they were distributed over the weekend. It's not a problem for counties that only have a handful of absentee ballots that go out. But if you have counties where there are major elections, like, I don't know, City of Atlanta, and they have to get thousands of these envelopes out and thousands of these ballots out, it's going to be challenging. And it's not their fault. This is the state's fault. But nonetheless, this is what we have to do. The deadline for applying for an absentee ballot is now 11 days before the election, which means next Friday. And I wrote down the date, so Friday, October 22nd. If you have not applied for your if you need to vote absentee and you haven't applied, you must apply by Friday, October 22nd. You will have to provide your Georgia driver's license or your Georgia state ID number in your application. If you don't have a Georgia state issued, now this is not the county issued voter ID, this is a state issued ID with the number, then you will have to provide an actual physical copy of your photo ID with your application. You also have to provide that number on the ballot envelope. Now, the way the envelope is designed, it will be covered. There is a flap that covers it, so nobody can see that in the mail. So your personal information is not exposed, but you have to provide your ID number, or if you don't have, again, if you don't have one of these IDs, you can provide the last 4 digits of your social security number, so that there's less need to send a photocopy. But that is another change that has been instituted by SB 202. There are no more outdoor ballot drop boxes. The ballot drop boxes are extremely limited in number, and they have to be inside early voting locations. However, you have always had the ability to hand your absentee ballot directly to somebody, a person inside that early voting location. So even though under the law, Cobb County is restricted to, I think it's 6 ballot boxes, at that there is another early voting location where voters can still hand that ballot directly to the manager of the early voting site, and it will be returned and counted. But again, no outdoor drop boxes. Those are only during early voting. You can also return your ballot at Whitlock Avenue. Just drive up to the registration site, the registration office on Whitlock, and turn that in. That has always been an opportunity available to voters. It will continue to be available to voters. And then finally, the other big change, the voter facing change, is about provisional ballots. If you go to your incorrect polling site on election day, you cannot, your provisional ballot will not be counted unless it is between the hours of 5 and 7. And you have to sign an affidavit saying, I cannot make it to my assigned polling station, and this is the reason why. It's a very narrow window, so that means voters need to either vote absentee, vote early in person, because you can go anywhere you want early in person, or make sure, double check by going to mvp.sos.ga.gov to make sure you're going to your assigned polling location. So those are the big changes that voters will see, but there are other changes sort of on the back end that the counties have to adhere to. One of the biggest ones is by 10 o'clock on election night, every single precinct has to report how many ballots were cast, and they have to report this directly to the Secretary of State's office. And training for this was just provided yesterday, because the Secretary of State, the state election board, we passed a rule saying that these reports have to be done by whatever means the Secretary of State sets up. Well, they have set up a process by which poll managers have to use either a county assigned device or their own personal telephone to text these numbers in through a bot. And I happened to I sat through the training yesterday so I could understand what it is that the counties are going to have to do. And I'm not at all confident that this is going to go very smoothly. I hope that voting is distributed across all 3 methods fairly evenly, so that there's not an enormous amount of pressure on election day polling sites, because these poll managers are going to be facing a lot of brand new stuff, and it's challenging. And not only are these tools challenging, but a violation of this part of SB 202 can trigger the takeover provisions. Well, the process that could eventually lead to that. I'm concerned. The other part that the counties have to adhere to is a far more robust reconciliation process within 30 days. And that will include these votes cast, also vote totals, and clarifying any discrepancies. For instance, if it looks like there were 502 voters who checked in on the machines, but only 500 votes that were scanned in the scanners, there has to be a reason for that, and they have to provide a reason for that. So this is a way of double checking to make sure that what we saw in 2020, where a couple of counties simply failed to properly upload all of their vote totals, well, that actually needs to be caught before certification. But these are just sort of triple checks to make sure that every single ballot cast is accounted for. And I think I just saw something in the chat about, early voting. Yes, you have to early vote in the county where you are registered to vote. We have already, and stepping back just a second on that, we have already passed the voter registration deadline. So you cannot change your voter registration. You can your voter registration is only valid as long as it was where you were living at the time of the deadline. So if you moved within the county, then you can still cast your ballot, but you need to go to your old precinct. If you have moved outside of the county, then you are no longer validly registered to vote. You have to vote in the county where you are registered, and that is the county where you reside. So very briefly, I did want to touch also on this takeover provisions, because I know people are really concerned about that. Violation of a couple of these rules will lead to a review panel being instated, and the review panel is supposed to evaluate the processes and procedures of election administration in that county. I'm sure you know that one of these has already been set for Fulton County, because the way the law was written, members of the legislative delegation can call for this. Now, recognize that it only takes 3 members of the legislative delegation with a big county when there are over 30 members. So in other words, this can be used as a very political tool. So there is an ongoing panel reviewing the election operations in Fulton County. I have not heard any reports from them yet. But the good thing is the standards to actually remove an election board are extraordinarily high. It basically, a panel has to find that there was such malfeasance or such gross negligence that has not been addressed, that there's no way that this board can continue to oversee elections appropriately. There is also an appeal process by the county, and the standard for that is, are the county voters better served by an election administered by their duly seated superintendent or by a single appointee? As you can imagine, I have a very hard time actually imagining circumstances where I would ever support the removal of a duly appointed election superintendent, because every single election and superintendent is impaneled under law, under local legislation. We've got 159 counties. We have 159 different ways of getting superintendents in there, but these are duly constituted. And they are accountable to the bodies that appointed them. So I can't imagine circumstances under which I would support any removal. Obviously, I never say never, but so there's certainly never, I have never yet seen circumstances that would lead me to support anything like that. And if I believe that the process itself is being weaponized and politicized for political gain by any party, I will call that out. So folks who know me understand that I really won't hesitate to do that. I'm happy to answer any questions if folks have it, but this is where we are right now. There's another state election board meeting on October 30th. I really encourage folks to get engaged in this, in these processes. This one again will be remote. people will citizens will have the right to weigh in on draft regulations. We've got some new regulations that we have clarified, the ones we've already passed. Moving forward, looking ahead, we're going to be drafting regulations across the board. And these really affect voters' experience at the ballot box. So it's important that voters themselves, you all, are engaged in this process. If you think this is too confusing, then imagine what somebody who's not as linked in as you guys are, right? Somebody who only thinks about an election once a year or once every 2 years or once every 4 years. So please get engaged in this. Get engaged also at the county level. I get concerned when I see groups who have a vested interest in undermining our elections, recruiting poll workers. Poll workers need to be people who are committed to the rule of law, committed to the electoral process, and committed to making sure that eligible voters can cast their ballot. Because the person who checks voters in can make a huge difference in whether or not that voter can cast a ballot that day. So please, please, please sign up to be poll workers. That's the number one thing that we need to be seeing. And I don't know if Cobb still needs them. They may not, but remember, we've got a whole long electoral cycle next year that will start with we'll have a primary, probably a primary runoff, an election, and a general election, and maybe a general election runoff. That's a lot of opportunity to get engaged, a lot of opportunity to be on the front lines of democracy. And I really encourage folks to do that.
Yeah, and I'll add poll workers is important. We're also looking for poll watchers. And this is going to be a fairly low turnout election. So you tend to wonder how much of an issue things are really going to be. But the other side is out there actively recruiting folks. So I really feel strongly we need the counter presence. So if you are interested in being a poll worker on election day, I think the critical time for that would be somewhere around 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. when that provisional ballot issue comes into play that Sarah was mentioning. And typically those are when the long lines are. So if you are available on election day, we're looking at Marietta precincts, Kennesaw precincts, and Acworth precincts predominantly. Please shoot me an email and let me know if you're available to do that. We're also, well, that's all for this election. Sarah, I just got a text from someone who's actually in training today, and they are telling me that they have announced that they are bringing back voter certificates at check-in. What does that mean? They seem surprised. This person seems surprised by that.
So that would be a choice of the county. That's not necessarily required under SB 202. But what that means is, as opposed to just flashing your driver's license and having that come up, that the voters, particularly for early vote, it's basically an absentee ballot application, because early in-person voting is early in-person absentee. Makes no sense. But under the law, that's the way it is. It's all one big category. And that's how the numbers are going to be reported as well. So that just means that voters there's more work on the part of voters. It's going to be a slower process. I'm not sure why they would do that. And I know that Jessica is here, and she may be able to speak to that, because Jessica put in the comments in the chat that there are also 3 additional locations where voters can drop off their absentee ballots. And they are libraries. So that would be, and it's great. Thank you, Jessica, for doing that. And maybe she could speak to why they're reintroducing voter certificates. And that
so I'll go ahead and say right now, we're going to get into more detail about actual sites and locations later on in the program for absentee ballot delivery and early vote. Jessica, do you have anything to comment with respect to the voter certificates? If you could just, if so, just raise your hand. here. Okay, I'm going to give Jessica audio here. Can you hear me, Jessica?
Sorry for throwing you under the bus there, Jessica.
All right,
Okay,
you're-
I'm unmuted. I'm muted now, correct?
Okay, you are. We can hear you.
Okay, I normally attend the training, all 4 different types of training that we now have for poll workers, the manager and assistant manager training, the provisional votes, the regular clerk, as well as the it's more or less equipment training. And I haven't attended the sessions yet, so the certificate issuing is something that's new to me. My guess is that Janine Evalier's thought is that it may slow down the process. Maybe it won't affect our voters too much in this relatively low turnout election, but it may just be an additional check for checks and balances so that we can make sure that we have the same numbers matching up. But
Okay.
I will ask for the rationale behind it.
Thank you. And for those of you who don't know, Jessica Brooks is the Cobb County Democrats appointee to the local Cobb County Board of Elections. Longest serving member on that board right now, I believe. Isn't that right, Jessica?
For 6 years, yes.
Yeah. So served as the only Democrat for so many years and finally has some relief this year. She's got some support. So thank you for all you do, Jessica.
Thank you.
So, and then I wanted to make a point that the next Cobb County Board of Elections meeting is this Monday at 3 p.m. They are held in person at the Commission Chambers, which is on Cherokee Street, but you can also watch virtually. If you go to YouTube and look at Cobb County Government Channel, you will see that meeting broadcast there as well. And there is opportunity to give public comment at those meetings. So you can sign up for that. If you go to cobbcounty.org/elections, you will see all that information about the meeting. So we have, do we anticipate a need to ballot cure this cycle?
I think there will probably be voters who are required to cure their ballots because particularly with a new need. I don't know that there will be an external effort to support this since these are all nonpartisan elections and frankly it's the amount of work that it takes to do a ballot cure is significant, shall we say. But what I do think if people need to do is make themselves available, become an elections expert, and make sure that your circle of contacts, your community, your friends, your family understand that they can go to you for advice. And if you don't have the answer, just start bouncing that up the line. There will be voters who need to cure their ballot, and they may not understand why or how to do that. So we all, as members of the community and as engaged voters, need to make sure that our contacts, our community has the support that they need to do that. So I'm always available. I will answer questions anytime you can get hold of me, and I'm pretty easy to find. And Jackie as well. And the state party still has an active voter hotline. And I think it's the voter protection director, Syra Draper, who is the hotline right now, but they can always answer questions. They never ask who you're voting for. They ask how, when, and where you're going to vote. So they will help anybody to make sure that their ballot is counted properly.
Yeah, I did a quick search yesterday, and according to our data, there's approximately 2,400 ballot requests out there, absentee ballot requests for this election. And like I said, those ballots will start getting mailed out on Monday. So we'll go into some more detail later about all of that. But I'd like to thank you, Sarah, for joining us this morning, spending some time with us on this beautiful fall day, and we'll be in touch. I think it's going to be a very interesting year coming up. So rest up and take care, and thanks again. All right, so again, election day is November 2nd. Make a vote plan, absentee, early vote, election day. And you can visit bit.ly/Cobb election 2021 .org or .com, sorry. And that information on all your options and on the State Board of I'm sorry, on all your options and the candidate information is there as well. So that is essentially on our website, and you will see a lot of buttons for either absentee voting, early voting, candidate information, et cetera. So please avail yourself of that information. And so with that, let's meet some candidates. I'm going to turn this over to our second vice chair, Director of Candidate Development and Field Operations, Matthew Yarborough, to make introductions and give us an overview of the elections landscape in Acworth and Kennesaw. So Matthew, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jackie. Per rule, should I share or are you going to share?
I can share, hold on.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. So while the slides are loading up, just to reiterate something we've echoed in past meetings, of those who reside in municipalities here in the county, which is actually a fairly small proportion of overall Cobb residents, those who reside in the cities of Acworth, Kennesaw, Marietta, and Austell will have and Powder Springs will have elections this year. Austell was supposed to, but they face no competition for their seats. So Austell's elections are functionally canceled other than the EDSPLOST. And Smyrna did not have any scheduled elections this year. And so just Marietta, Acworth, Kennesaw, and Powder Springs. We've already covered Marietta. So this week we're going to cover Kennesaw and Acworth. As a reminder, those who kind of, if you don't know if you reside within the city borders, you can double check with us. But each of these seats, each of these cities had multiple seats up at the same time. Oh, you're good. Go. You can hop to that Acworth side. So in the city of Acworth, we have two incumbents who did not face opposition, and no write-ins have qualified against them either. So Tim Houston and Tommy Algood will both be reelected as mayor and councilman, alderman. We call them aldermen in Acworth. We do have one race with competition. So the incumbent, Tim Richardson, will be facing off against Kimberly Haas. Both of them were unable to make it to today's meeting, but you can definitely read more about them on their websites if you have any questions or concerns. And again, as Jackie and Sarah have reiterated, early voting will start next week in these races. And this will be the first year that Acworth uses the county to run its elections. And so when we go, if you wait and decide to vote on election day in Acworth, you'll actually vote at your normal home precinct instead of at City Hall, which is how it's been in the past. So we can go and jump to Kennesaw. I should mention these elections are fairly small turnout. I do not expect Acworth to have more than 1,000 voters participate. So it will be a duke out for a few hundred available voters. Kennesaw is not different in this. If I was a betting person, I'm going to say Kennesaw is going to get to about 1,500 voters this year. And that's just kind of based a little on historical precedent. We do have 3 seats that are up, seats 3, 4, and 5. In seat 3, Pat Ferris is the incumbent. He will face no opposition and will be reelected. In seat 4, the incumbent Chris Henderson will face Antonio Jones, who we have here with us today. And seat 5 was vacated, so it's an open seat. And we have 2 challengers for that seat, John Bothers and Trey Sinclair. And again, John will be here with us today. So Antonio and John are not going for the same seats, just to clarify that up front. They are going for 2 different seats. And once again, just like Acworth, early voting is available starting next week. To Sarah's point, it starts on Tuesday of next week. Monday is Indigenous Peoples Day, and so it is a federal holiday. Additionally, your normal voting precinct will be open on election day. So those of you in Kennesaw, for example, if you're in kind of your normal Kennesaw precinct votes normally during election times at a local school or church or community center, it will be open for you on election day as well. So I will turn it over to, oh, we can bounce back. That'll be for after this. But I will bounce it over to Jackie. We can go ahead and pull Antonio into the chat and talk to him a little bit about his run for Kennesaw City Council. Oh, Jackie, you're muted.
You're muted, Jackie.
We're going to ask you to stop the screen share. And is Antonio in the room?
He is.
So you can bring him up to panelist. There he is. Can you hear me, Antonio? You're on mute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Awesome. Let me turn on. How do I turn this camera? Okay, I have it now. Okay, awesome.
There you are.
There you go. I was
Good
wondering, I
morning.
thought y'all didn't love me. I was like, man, I can't see myself.
Yeah. So good morning. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. Thank you
So
for having me.
why don't we just start with, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and why you're running for office?
Yes, ma'am. So I'm Antonio Jones. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. I pretty much came here when I was around 6 years old, and I went back to New Orleans years later, and came back to live with my mother, and then she passed away, and then I moved to Pennsylvania to with my dad because around that time Hurricane Katrina was going on. And so I finished up high school in Pennsylvania. Then I moved to DC for college. And then I came back because my fiance now, she actually is in the Air Force. So she was stationed at Dobbins, and now she's stationed at Warner Robins. And so she's a master sergeant in the Air Force. It was pretty much, I had to move down here. And I'm so thankful that I did because, the 6 to 7 years I've been here, it's been an awesome experience, I would say. I loved, the growth in Cobb County and Gwinnett as well, where I'm originally, I went to South Gwinnett and Gwinnett. So the growth and things like that is really awesome because when I first moved here in '96, we still had acres and acres of land and things like that. And you go through Gwinnett and Cobb County now, it's not the same as it was in '96 when I first moved here. We was literally had to walk through the woods to get to the store back in those days. So, and that brings me to a point about with the lack of land now. We have to be very careful, I believe, with our development that we're putting in these locations. We have to make sure that our infrastructure is in place. We have to make sure that we have enough space for our school districts as well, because the last thing we want to do is oversaturate our school district and put the burden upon our teachers, and also on the school administrators as well. So I think when it comes to, as a city council member, we have to be very careful in the developments that we're doing, and not to have it oversaturated to where our kids are not getting a decent education. I don't think that we should have, over what I would like to see 25 kids in the classroom personally, 20 to 25. I know we probably wouldn't have it in the budget, but that would be awesome to see, because when you have that one-on-one interaction with your teachers, it has a much greater impact, and I was blessed to have us be in the school district where we was around 20 to 25 kids in the school district as well. Some of the things that's going on here in the city, as I say, we have a lot of development going on here. And so I'm happy that, our tax digest is going to be looking very healthy for the coming years coming. What I'm worried about is, I'm starting to see some of our infrastructure start to crumble, and last week we had a pipe that went down in the city. And our awesome our awesome public works department was able to get that fixed right away. So I'm so thankful that we have a great public works department. We have a great police department here in the city. Chief Westerberger, he does a great job. I feel very safe living here. I feel very encouraged to live here. I'm looking forward to raising a family here one day, my fiance and I. Some things I would like to see more is more bike lanes. I would like to see more sidewalks because I would like to make this a walkable city, and I think that if we could do it and make it where people are safe, people could really enjoy the city, and I really like it. My fiance and I, we love walking. Actually, today, Fred Bowers and I, we actually came from the Walk a Mile Her Shoes event over here at Swift Cantrell Park. And we was very fortunate enough to have the DA Brody was there with us as well, and Chief of Police and other people that's running for office as well. And it was a great event. My feet are still hurting a little bit. I had to walk them out in our high heels. I don't know how y'all do it. Fred and I was like, we was thinking about saying, if we are elected, to make that our first ordinance, we got outlaw high heel shoes, because that y'all shouldn't be putting yourself through that torture. That is just ridiculous, My big toe is hurting, my little toe is about to fall off, but I really appreciate you all for giving us the opportunity to speak before you all. I'm so eager, and Matthew, you did a great job. I appreciate you for reaching out to us as well. And I'm just looking forward to this election. It's been a long time coming. And I think that we're in a great position in the city. Some other things I'm looking into is having more fuel efficient cars. Our police department is our biggest budget item in our budget. It takes around $7 million. So now I've been doing some research and some police chiefs in I think it's Arizona, California, that actually are using Tesla police cars now. So I would like to, travel. I'm not saying that this is something that we can definitely implement, but I think it's something that we should research and see if it's going to be beneficial for our community. Because as when you have a fleet of cars, we have 100 police cars, if I'm not mistaken. And so each of those cars are going to need brand new tires. Each of those cars are going to need oil changes and things like that. With the Tesla cars, if I'm not mistaken, you don't have to do the oil changes and things like that. And the cost of, not having to fuel up these vehicles every week, I think, we can offset that cost by giving our police officers and, different administrators and any department that we can see where we can make that department efficient, as far as fuel is concerned. We save money on the fuel costs and also on electric as well. One of my friend and I, he had rented a Tesla and we was on the road. And it was literally it was so fast. It was so fast, and it was just an awesome experience to be in that car. I think it'd be great. I'm looking to increasing our rainy day fund as well. We did a great job lately. We've been putting more money into our rainy day fund, and I think that really helped us out, especially with the COVID situation. And I think that if something that was to ever occur again, we need to be prepared, so I definitely would like to have where we have our own contingency plan. So if anything was to occur, we don't have to lay off our employees. We have a little time to actually sit back and think about what we can do to get ourselves back on track. But I think our finance director, Mrs. Alt, she does a great job, and she's putting us in a great position, and I'm looking forward to the coming years. I'm looking forward to raising my family here. I'm looking forward to you just having a great time here, and this is also say, I hope, I'm not certain if you all have been here, but please come, and if you're here, please reach out to me. I'm not hard to find. I would love to have and sit down and have coffee with you all. We have great places, here to eat. We have great restaurants. So it's a very awesome city. I think I'm maybe over my 3 minutes, and I apologize that I am. Please don't give me. Please, I hope don't give me in trouble. But yeah, I'm just so eager. I'm really happy, and I'm really honored to have this opportunity to be a candidate for City Council post for. And I yield my time, and thank you all so much for having me.
Yeah, no, we're a little more freeform today because your opponent isn't with us. So this is more just a general conversation. So,
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for all of that, and congratulations on your engagement. When's the wedding?
So we were planning for next year. So we have a few goals that we're trying to achieve on our end. One of the goals, we're going to try to pay off the house next year. So we definitely just putting things together. But I'm looking so forward to marrying my fiance. She's been a great woman. She's been my bedrock, and she's literally been there from day one. And it's so awesome to find a person, a partner that can share that experience with you. And I'm honored, be honest with you, because not everyone can have that, and I'm just fortunate, I'm blessed, but we're looking at about a year to year and a half. We're still trying to decide if we're going to do a destination wedding, but I have a huge family, so I'm pretty sure they're not going to go for that, and so I'm pretty sure we was looking into New Orleans, doing a wedding in New Orleans as well, and looking at venues here. I know we'll save a little more money by doing it, a destination wedding, but I don't think that experience would be the same. So we're just trying to figure it out.
Congratulations. Yeah, again. So I knew you were from the South because when we speak, you say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And that's definitely the sign of a Southerner, right? So, but I noticed on your webpage, and you've outlined a lot of this just now about the issues that you want to address if elected to the Kennesaw City Council. A lot of it is what I would put in the climate change category, environmental sustainability category. You list more sidewalks and bike lanes. Which is quality of life, but it also alleviates traffic and makes you able to get around the city a little easier without burning fossil fuels sometimes. Energy efficient buildings, solar street lights, and paper reduction resolutions. So would you agree that all sort of goes in the climate change, environmental sustainability silo? And this seems like it's an issue that's of particular importance to you.
Yes, ma'am. Because I was looking at a city in Mexico, and they actually have solar street lights, and I'm like, well, why don't we have those here? And so my idea is that of course, I'm only one person on the council if elected, so I can't make these decisions unilaterally. So I would love to. I think we have a great council. I think we have a council who's forward thinking. And I think that it's something that we can look into. I'm not certain if we can, definitely pass it, but it's something to look into. But yes, energy efficiency is definitely one of my. I really pride myself into. Ever since I've been running, that's what I've been preaching, and a lot more people are now reaching out to me and saying, they really appreciate that, because I think it's one of those topics that it's not partisan. It's been practical, because yeah, we may have fossil fuels, but if we don't need to use it, why use it if we can try to eliminate some of these costs and things like that, and I would say the detriment to our environment, if we don't have to. I know that the technology is not all the way there, but I think that it's not something that we should be afraid to try to explore to see what's going on. If we had to say next SPOS dollars, we get, just buy one car, let's test it out and see what happens. I'm willing to try. And a lot of people not willing to try, but I am, and I'm willing to put my neck on the line if necessary to get these things moving. And I have no problem with it, I have no problem with, because when you start speaking these things, some people they try to beat you down about having these type of ideas, but I'm not afraid to have ideas, because without any ideas, we're going to be stuck in the past. And I think that if we have these technologies, if you look at what GM is doing, GM is partnering up with I think they put $4 billion to build another factory to produce batteries, because everyone's looking into electric vehicles. So why not? Cobb County could be that person or that place where GM could build a factory. It's not saying that's going to happen, but other companies may come around. If that company comes here and they build a factory here, that could be 2,000 jobs, 5,000 jobs here in Cobb County. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to see those jobs here in Cobb County. Hopefully it could be in the city of Kennesaw, but if it's in Cobb County, I feel okay as well. I have I have a problem with that as well.
Well, and I think we find a lot of times that investment in clean energy and environmentally sustainable buildings and cars and the likes, it pays off in spades a lot of times. You make the initial investment, but you save on the back end of that. As you mentioned with the police cars, right, going to electric. So
you have 100 police cars, and let's say you fill those cars up 3 times a week. On average, and let's say if with current gas prices, you're spending $50 at the pump. That's $150 a week times 100 cars. That adds up pretty quickly. It adds up pretty quickly, and I think that we should do look explore these things and see what we can do to help out. And I'm very much looking forward to doing so.
Well, and that's why we welcome fresh young perspectives such as yourself to just get the conversation started, right? There's no easy solution sometimes, but it's a good thing to just get the conversation started.
Yes, ma'am.
So sidewalks and bike lanes, and a lot of these things we've just been talking about, that's a lot of times these cities use SPLOST funds to fund some of these projects. And you also list on your webpage, practical spending of SPLOST funds is something, an issue that you feel is important. And so I wanted to, I did see a presentation by the city of Kennesaw not too long ago where they're still closing out 2005 SPLOST projects. And someone did mention to me that Kennesaw seems to have more of that sort of late completion of SPLOST projects than some of the other cities. I haven't verified that, but I wondered if you could elaborate a little bit on practical spending of SPLOST funds. How do you think Kennesaw has done so far with that? You seem to indicate that maybe they could do better.
Well, I think, with the rec center that they're building, I think it's awesome. There's a few disagreements at the beginning. I think they was trying to take the basketball court out of there at first, but then it was put back on into being in the rec center. I believe that we're doing an okay job. I know we have things in the pipeline, and it does take years to gather those SPLOST funds up. So it's not something that, okay, well, it's 1 year. It's usually around 6 years for the SPLOST and things of that nature to collect those funds. And so I do, if I'm mistaken, the 2005 SPLOST is for road construction on I think for one of the roads, if I'm not mistaken. I forget, I think it's one on the other side of 41. So I think it's pretty much the development that's coming as well. And I think that the city probably didn't want to pull the trigger right away on that. But yeah, we still have some funds where I think it's 300 some thousand dollars that we had available left over from 2005. To me, I have no problem with $300,000, $300,000. We can figure out how to use it, so long as we still have those in our coffers, then I'm happy with that. I do understand that it does take a few years to build up the revenue and things like that. I believe we got $30 million, if I'm not mistaken. And so I know we're right. I'm not sure you all familiar with the city, but going to downtown Kennesaw, where the train crossing is, they're going to be building underneath the train that's going to raise the tracks up and build a tunnel underneath there. And I think that's going to really help out with the traffic congestion that's right there. That is a bottleneck that happens right there. So I think the city is on the right track. I think that we just need to go ahead and start thinking bigger in some areas. Maybe putting solar panels on the buildings and things like that if we can, especially on new buildings. Anything we can to try to pretty much make this a first-class city. We're an international city, and I think that our voice is big and our voice is wide, and with Cobb International Airport right here, we really have the ability to pretty much be a staple for the whole state. And we can pretty much change the narrative. We can say, okay, well, we're looking, because we used to be Tree City in this city. And while the development is going on, I see so many trees being chopped down, I see literally right behind me, like deers and things of that. It's so sad. It's so sad. And I do understand that we have to have development, it comes with it, but it's also sad to see. I remember seeing like a bird nest that fell on the ground, and the bird was deceased and things. So it's like, but it's from human intervention that's causing this, and it's kind of sad because it's like we have to have development, but it has to be a fine line. I would say I don't think we should be putting a 1,000 unit apartment complex building just right here. Me personally, we're so fortunate. I think that we was able to get this house for a decent price. And I would like to see more development to where you have actually ownership in the development or in the city. It's not just apartments and things like that. We're cramming a lot of apartments. So if you've been watching news, we're cramming a lot of apartments, and I think it's going to bring a lot of traffic congestion. And we don't have the infrastructure. Everything is not built out yet. It's coming, but these projects is online. These are going to be here in the next 1 to 2 years. A lot of these projects. And we're already at 34,000 residents here. You know, we're looking to add that's about another 5,000 people, close to 10,000 people. Once everything's all said and done, that's going to be a lot of cars on these roads. You know, if you have to add 10,000 units, that means that you're also going to add probably 2 cars per household. You know, so that's another 20,000 cars that we're going to be adding. And we see the traffic studies and things like that say that, oh, it's okay. But I literally drive down these roads and I'm in traffic some days. You come down 041, you know, you're going to be in traffic. You're going to be in traffic. Literally one time it took me 41 minutes to get from 041 to McCullum. 41 minutes. So I'm looking at ways, you know, because I lived in big cities, you know, I think that we have to start taking better approach to our transportation infrastructure. You know, I see that we are doing a job with the SPLOS and things like that as far as the transportation. I would like to see more trains personally, like maybe underground, above ground, you know, to try to alleviate some of this traffic that's going on 75, because you only could build so many lanes. And it's like we have to think bigger, you know. And don't get me wrong, I like buses, you know, I think it's a good idea. But I think that we need to have where the buses are local. So maybe Marietta, once you get off the highway, we can have maybe the trains run down the highway, and you get off at our terminal at the off the highway interstate, and then you would just hop on the bus and go where you have to go in the city, you know. But I think we have to do a better job, especially with transportation, because, you know, so many people want to be here, you know, and I understand it's an awesome place to live. You know, it gave my family member opportunities here, you know, and put us in a better situation. But I think we have to be forward thinking with our plans. You know, I don't think there's something we should be rushing. We should sit down and really think about it, you know. And I had a great opportunity to speak before and talk to the Carr for Transit last go around. I ran for city council, and we had some great ideas. You know, they had some great ideas as well. And I think you know, it's going to have to be a melting pot of ideas. You know, we can't just say that it's just one person or one individual, one group has the right answer. I think everyone should have a seat at the table, and we all come together, because you never know. Somebody may have an awesome idea and it could really help out. So yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're definitely going through growing pains. And I think a lot of people have moved into the county, and they're moving into Kennesaw and north parts of the county. So a lot of issues with development and transportation for sure. But again, that's why we need young, fresh perspectives on all of this. And like you say, let's get the conversation going. So thank you for joining us today. And thank you for standing for election. I know that's not easy, but we appreciate you. I'm gonna, Parul, are there any questions off the chat threads for Antonio?
Nope, I don't see any.
Okay,
There's
great.
congratulations.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm going to encourage you, Antonio, to go ahead and put your webpage and Facebook, email, whatever it is you'd like. Put those links in the chat thread in both the Zoom room here and on Facebook, so that people know how to reach you and how to get involved with your campaign if they're so inclined. So
yes, ma'am.
Best of luck to you, and thanks again for joining us. Oh, I wanted to reiterate, this is an at-large election. So Antonio is running for the post 4 seat, but all citizens in Kennesaw can vote for Antonio. So it doesn't matter whether you live in post 4, post 3, post 2, you know, you can vote for Antonio, even though he's running for post 4. So just wanted to make that clear. So thanks again, Antonio.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye. Next, we'll bring up John Bothers, who is running for post 5 in Kennesaw. Parul, you want to toggle him on?
He's coming on.
Great, thank you. Jonathan, yeah, good morning. There he is.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic there. I'm sorry, you may hear my dogs in the background.
No, that's all right.
Give me 1 second there.
Okay.
1 second. Hurley, Daisy. All right. All righty then. Hey, how you guys doing today?
Great. I guess they're just saying hello, good morning as well, huh? Joining in the
Yeah.
party here.
Yeah, every time they hear a different voice in the house, it makes no difference if it's on the computer at the door. They want to speak to people. They just want
They're
to
on
speak.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, great. Thanks for joining us. You are running for post 5 Kennesaw City Council. So I wanted to just give you a few minutes to introduce yourself to the viewers, who you are, what you're about, and why you're running.
Okay, well, I'll try to keep it simple there. First thing, before we go any further there, you guys, Antonio Jones, if you just talked with him, you just heard from him there. This is a very, very smart young man. He is great for the city of Kennesaw, and he is fantastic for Cobb County and everything there. He's very, very smart there. Go out and vote for this young man there. He's very, very good. Introduce myself. My name is Jonathan Frederick Bothers. A lot of people know me as John. A lot of people know me as Fred, but I'm running for post 5 here in the city of Kennesaw. My wife and I, we moved to the city of Kennesaw back in 2003. We've been here for a long time. We've seen a lot of different things happen right here in the city. We love the city of Kennesaw. We shop here, we live here, we play here, we go to all the parks, we go to church here. We attended church here in Kennesaw, First Baptist Church, downtown Maine, Kennesaw. It's absolutely wonderful city. And we just absolutely love it here. We brought up 2 beautiful young ladies here in the city of Kennesaw. They're now at the high school right here in Kennesaw. About me, I'm a real estate broker here in the state. I do a lot of real estate deals right here in Cobb County and Cherokee County there. I'm running for office because I see a lot of changes that are happening right here in our city there. There's a lot of development that's going. Our city is growing so fast and changing so much that you need to have somebody on the council that understand what is going on and how things are happening. The development it's lots of big development here, and like Antonio was saying there, with the development that we have here, the infrastructure, it's scary. It's scary. He mentioned the fact last week we had a water main break in the city, and think we have enough people and enough things to handle that situation. So it was handled real fast, and the street was only shut down for half a day there. But the infrastructure, we have tons of apartments that are being built here, and we have right now tons of townhomes that are being built here. People are moving to Kennesaw, so there's lots of things that the future that we're going to have to address right here in the city, and the council has been doing a good job there. But I think that we need to move forward. I like to be on the city council to help them to move forward, to answer some of the questions or some of the things that are coming up, and go from there. The city is a beautiful city. We have wonderful people that live here in the city, and what I would like to do is make sure that the city is available for everyone. The prices are skyrocketing, the taxes, because and this is happening all over Cobb County, all over the city, all over the state, actually. Home prices are going up, which means that if your property value goes up, that means that your taxes are going to go up. I want to make sure that we keep our millage rate at a livable rate for people who are not paying outrageous prices for taxes, home property taxes, and that sort of thing like that. And there are several ways of doing that. Antonio Jones, when he was talking about it, mentioned several things there, and I agree with him on several of those things there. If we can cut costs in the city, paper costs, we have such great technology these days there that we don't need to we have such great technology that we don't need to have paper and use a ton of paper there. There's ways around that. paper and storing paper and stuff like that. We can put solar panels on our buildings to cut back on some of the electric costs that we have in our buildings. He mentioned the fact that there are electric cars that are out there that they're coming in at. There's another great ideas that there. Solar lighting for the outside lights. There's other ideas that we have out there. But we have to cut the cost in the city. Fortunately, because of the property taxes that we have here in the city there, we were able to survive the COVID situation that we have here in the city there. But there's lots of things that are coming up there. I believe that our public safety, we spend a ton of money in our police department. Tons and tons. And in fact, that's our biggest expense that we have in there. And I would say that Chief Westenberger is doing a fantastic job with that. I think all the costs that we have here in the city is absolutely necessary, but we need to find better ways of saving money in that. The development that we have here in the city, I'd like to continue development, but I'd like to have responsible development. Every time I go to a board meeting, go to a council meeting there, what I see is no one asking questions. I want someone to answer a question for me instead of just rubber stamping a yes for every development that goes through the city there. And I know that there's closed door sessions where they go through that, but I need the public to know what's going on. So I want to have more public information for the public to know exactly what's going on. I feel in our city that we actually hide a lot of stuff from our public. I like to have a lot of the citizens to know more about what's actual going on in the city. But as far as me, I'm just a regular family guy. I work as a real estate broker. My wife and my 2 kids live right here in the city of Kennesaw. We love the city. We moved here because we wanted to raise our kids in a small city environment that supplies us with all the things that we need. Kennesaw does that. Another big problem that we have in our city is no one's actually addressing it, but we see it's happening, is that we have Kennesaw State University right up the street there. Kennesaw State used to be a very small college. Right now, it's the third largest university in the state. Right around 35,000 students that attend this university. It's making a big change right here in the city. We have a lot of dorm rooms, college apartments going up in the area. And so it's bringing a lot of different things right here to the city. So that's other things that we have to watch out. We have to watch out for it now, because the only thing that's going to happen is that university is going to grow, which means that we're going to have more people in the city living, which means we need more places to live, which causes more problems for our infrastructure. So I want to be there to help plan the future, not just the now, but the future of this city, and make sure that this city grows responsibly, that our development is growing responsibly here in the city. I think that is it. Is there anything else I can answer for you? I can't hear you.
Jackie, you're muted.
Mhm.
It covers a lot of territory for sure. But I was curious, what are like 2 tangible policies that you'd like to see, priorities or key initiatives you'd like to see implemented in your first year if elected? What's top of the order for attention?
Two of the top things that, and great question. Thank you very much there. One of the things that I would like to see, I have a problem with information not being out. I would like to see that all the antiquated systems that we have here in the city be updated. And when I say this, when there's something that's happening with the commission, with the council, something that the council has to vote for, what we do is put a post in the Marietta Journal. Okay. I don't know about you guys there, but I don't read the newspaper anymore. And most of the people that I know don't read the newspaper. So if I don't get a newspaper here and I don't go and get a Marietta Journal, and look it up, I can't find that information. Just recently, you know, they post stuff and then they post it on a Friday night in a posting. No one reads the Friday night newspaper. One of the things that I have a problem with is it seems to me that the city is hiding stuff. They want to sneak stuff past the citizens, and those are antiquated ways there. They have the opportunity to put this stuff on the Facebook page. They have opportunities to put this stuff on the city pages. They have opportunities to, you know, there's lots of opportunities out there these days with the technology, with the social media that we have there. That's a problem. I feel that we're hiding stuff there. Not a big problem there, not something to be concerned about, but I think that, you know, information to the citizens of Kennesaw is very much needed there. I don't think that we do a good job of getting that information out there. That's one thing. Another thing is I'm concerned about the spending, how we're spending money and things in Kennesaw there. I want to be able to be more financially responsible with the money here in Kennesaw. And when I say that, it's just like I was going back before. I think that we can save money in several different ways. I think the city can save money by adding solar panels or doing something with the buildings to make them more energy efficient. I think that we should be able to, like the solar lights, that's one of the things that are on my agenda there, to get the solar lights put in the city. I do believe that cutting back on paper costs is another thing that we can do to save money in the city. There's not one or two things that I specifically think that we should. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm sitting back. There's not one or two things that I think specifically. I think there's a lot of small things that we need to work on to make the city better off overall there. The development. And I'm sorry, the development of better ways to run and to save power, and by saving power in the city there, we save money in the city, and that money could go to other things that could help the city run a little better there.
So do you feel that there's money being spent that's could be spent more wisely?
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. I think that the city overall are doing what they think is the best thing to do with the city. They're looking at things. We have financial people that do a very, very good job with those things there. I think they need to, just think about other ideas that could help the city. I think that if we continue to do the same things that we do in the city and not willing to change some of the things and look at new, brighter ideas, because we have the technology out there these days. There's lots of technologies out there to do the things that is necessary to change the way that we do things in order to save money. There's not one specific thing that I could think of, and I will say this: there's not something that I think that the city is actually doing wrong. I just think that we can do better using the technologies that we have these days.
Okay, and then with respect to development, I mean, I think this is an issue all over the county and maybe all over the metro area in general. But there's always trade-offs on development, yeah. So. It can improve a city, it can create traffic problems, it can overload the schools, depending on what that development is. So how would you be thinking about these development issues in the sense of, what are the main values and priorities that you would have for developing Kennesaw?
Developing Kennesaw, I think most of our developments right now in the city of Kennesaw, and some of the ones that we have in the future there, we're building lots of townhome communities. We're building a lot of apartment communities that are coming here in the city and in the future of the city. We also are building an entertainment district that's downtown Kennesaw, which is going to bring more restaurants, more bars, more nightlife scene to the city of Kennesaw. And those are all brought in, of course, for the tax money and to develop more tax money here. I think that we need to be responsible with all that. The city of Kennesaw has always been a great city because it's been a small city. But of course, the development has to happen because you can't stop the growth. I think with all the apartments that are coming in, all the townhomes that are coming in, we're going to put a strain on the infrastructure that we have here in the city. And I think that we need to prepare, and I hope I'm answering the question that you're asking, but I think that we need to prepare for those sort of things like that. That's why when I say we need to have responsible development and preparing for the future and that sort of thing there. It's great to bring in all this stuff here because the city needs it. There's some beautiful townhome developments that are going to be built here. There's plenty of apartments, and the apartments that have been built and the ones that are going to be built here in the city that have already been approved to be built are going to bring in lots of people, which means that they're going to bring in lots of traffic, which means that there's going to be more people in our schools. Kennesaw has Kennesaw Mountain High School. We also have in the city of Kennesaw, there's a couple more elementary schools that are here. In the actual city of Kennesaw, we don't have a middle school there in the actual city of Kennesaw, but a high school and a couple elementary schools that we do have here. Those schools are going to grow. They can't help but to grow there. So I think what we need to do is be prepared and be able to plan for those situations there, because it's going to bring more traffic. It's going to bring more issues. Our police department is going to have to grow more because we're going to have more areas to patrol, and that sort of thing like that. So what I want to do, and as your city councilman, is be there to try to set a standard, I guess I would say, and try to help the city to grow responsibly. And once again, Antonio Jones said it before too. I'm only one person. Okay, we have 5 councilmen that make those decisions in the city there. I see that Antonio Jones and we think sort of like that, and we agree on several different things that we've talked about there. But it takes 3 out of the 5 councilmen to make anything happen in the city. We have to be able to work with the councilmen that are currently on the board and to make things happen. So we can't just make it happen by ourselves there. That's why we need to get people out to vote and do things in the city there. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. And further to that, one last question. What do you view as the biggest challenge that you'll face if elected to the Kennesaw City Council?
The biggest challenge that you face in any situation is change. People do not like change at all. And I will speak once again on Antonio Jones. He's young, he's bright, he has lots of great ideas there. And I agree with a lot of those ideas, but there's a lot of people in the city. There's a lot of people, there's some people on the board, there's people that works for the city, there's people in the clerk's office that are not willing to make those changes. So we have to be able to work with those people and show them why this is a better way of doing things there. People do not like change, but change has to happen in order to make the city a better city. We can't continue to do the same things that we do and expect the different results there. So there has to be change there. There's a lot of great people, the councilman. I spoke with everyone that's on the, whatchamacallit right now, city council right now. I've spoken with the mayor, I've spoken with the city clerks, I've spoken with the managers, the city managers with there. Everybody loves the city. Everyone loves the city there. And there are a lot of great people on there, but a lot of people don't want to change there. So we have to come work with them, and we have to work together to do the best thing for the city.
Right. Yeah, change happens. So if you don't manage it, it happens to you instead of with
exactly.
you. Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So great. Well, thank you for all that. Are there any questions off our chat threads, Parul?
I have no questions showing.
Great.
Oh,
And
I wanted some questions.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to talk about that we haven't touched on?
We just got to get people to get out and vote. There's no reason why the city votes should be the smallest votes there. I don't understand why people do that, because everything happens in the city. You know, it starts in the city and then it works out to the county. Okay, and then it works out to the state. And then it works out to the federal government there. If you don't vote in a small election there, you don't know what's happening in your city and your surrounding there. So I'd like to tell people to go out and vote. We have to have your votes there. If you're voting in Marietta, if you're voting in Acworth, if you're voting in Powder Springs, Smyrna is not having a vote right now, go out and vote. Vote in Kennesaw there. You know, because we got to have those votes there. You just can't vote for the national election and the county elections there. You have to vote for your local elections too, because things happen in those local elections that affect what happens in those county elections, that affect what happens in those state elections, that affect what happens in those federal elections there. So go out and vote. That's the only thing I really have to say. Antonio Jones, I fully support Antonio Jones in Post 4. And I think he's a wonderful guy there. You guys should definitely go out and vote for there. And I really would appreciate your vote here in Kennesaw, Georgia, post number 5. Thank you so very, very much.
Yeah, thank you. And again, I'll reiterate, this is an at-large election. So voters in Kennesaw, no matter where you live, you get to vote twice. You can pick 2 candidates and vote for. You can vote for Jonathan and you can vote for Antonio. It doesn't matter where you live within the city of Kennesaw. So, and you're preaching to the choir, John. Local elections are so important. And these are the issues that impact our lives more than who's in the White House, quite frankly, a lot of times. These is your local taxes, your schools, your roads, traffic, housing. This is the stuff of city councils and local elections. So, so important that you get out and vote. Vote anytime you have the opportunity, but especially in these city council elections. So thank you for spending your time with us this morning, John, and we wish you all the luck. And again, let's go ahead and if you want to post your webpage, email, Facebook, whatever you want in the chat threads on Facebook and in Zoom here, so that our viewers and people following along can engage with your campaign if they're so inclined. And learn more about you. So great, thanks so much.
Thank you.
So let's, I don't know, Matthew, are you ready to launch into some more electoral landscape things? Yeah, or I've got some more information on voting in the county. Which would you prefer? Do you want to go now or?
Yeah, I can jump in. Sorry.
Okay, great.
Parul, will you kick me back to my slides?
Sure can, hold on.
Okie dokie. So one of the other things that we wanted to go ahead and preview, and Jackie alluded to this at the beginning of the call. So this is our last virtual call for hopefully for a while. We're going to continue, of course, to do our business meetings if you're an elected post seat holder virtually, but this will probably be hopefully our last Donuts with Dems. But that said, next month is an election month, and so we are going to be busy at the start of the month trying to get ready for all these municipal elections. Additionally, if any of these municipal elections have runoffs, we're going to be getting ready for those that will take place through the month of November. So we don't currently have a Donuts with Dems scheduled for November. And then December, we always are, is always one of our off months as well, as we kind of prepare for the start of the new year. So when we come back in January with our next Donuts with Democrats, we are going to be in primary mode. We more specifically are going to have primaries for all of our statewide elections. And there are a ton, of candidates. I actually counted it out this morning. Bye, John. I actually counted it out this morning. We have 24 Democrats declared for statewide elections at this point. That is a ton of people who want access to you all as members. That is a ton of people who are looking to earn your vote. That is a ton of people who are looking to raise money and get volunteers. And so we thought it might be helpful to go ahead and just give you an early update of who has declared for what offices, so that you can start researching which kind of primary candidates you want to support. Because I can tell you right now that when we get into January and we start having them come into the meetings, it's going to be a little hard to keep track of who's running against who for what office and who all is connected to who. So I'm going to give you at least the initial presentation of who is running for statewide offices. If you are a person who wants to fully research your ballot, this is the 10-second warning to grab a pen, because I'm going to give you a lot of names and a lot of information. We do every 4 years have all of our statewide elections. We'll also, of course, have our senator election, but we don't expect a primary for Senator Warnock. And we will, of course, have local primaries as well, but we're going to go ahead and cover the statewide since they're the big kahunas. So first up is governor's race. We do not have a Democrat declared for governor. This is the ominous point that we all know. We are all waiting for Stacey Abrams to make her decision. It is a agonizing waiting process, but we respect everyone's time to make their own decisions. In the meantime, the Republicans have 3 candidates declared for their governor's primary. Governor Kemp, as well as Vernon Jones, former state rep from DeKalb, and Candace Taylor, who is a self-described election integrity activist. So that is what the Republicans have in store for them. We do not yet have a Democratic primary candidate for governor. Lieutenant governor is the first giant field. So we already have 6 Democrats declared for lieutenant governor. I don't think most people realize that. I think people kind of hear on the news that, oh, this candidate's declared or that candidate's declared, but we have 6 declared candidates at this point for lieutenant governor, and the Republicans have 4. The incumbent lieutenant governor is Jeff Duncan. He is not running for re-election. And so it's an open seat. We have 3 sitting state legislators who have declared. So Eric Allen, who is a state rep here in Cobb, Derek Jackson, who is a state rep in South Atlanta, and Renita Shannon, who is a state rep in DeKalb County, have all declared. Colby Gardner is I believe he would self-describe himself as an entrepreneur activist. He lives in downtown Atlanta. Jason Hayes is a former State House candidate from Alpharetta, and Ben Turner is a teacher, I believe. And so we already have 6 in this field. On the Republican side, they have 2 state senators, Burt Jones and Butch Miller. They have a Savannah County Commissioner, Gene Sieber, and then honestly, I couldn't find anything about Mac McGregor from even trying, as you could tell based on his picture. But we do have 6 Democrats at this point declared for this seat. Attorney General is probably one of the smaller fields so far. We'll see if that changes in the next few months. We have 2 declared Democrats running for Attorney General, Jen Jordan, who is our state senator in the Smyrna area into North Fulton, or kind of central Fulton, I guess is the better way to describe that. And then Charlie Bailey, who was our 2018 Attorney General nominee. And they'll both be running in a primary to take on Chris Carr. Also, I totally did not stage the fact that they both have a looking off picture in opposing directions. That was just totally coincidental. That just worked out. Chris Carr is the incumbent Attorney General. Secretary of State, of course, the administrator of our elections. Once again, a very crowded early field. So on the Democratic side, we already have 5 candidates declared. The Republican side, we have 4, including the incumbent. So on the Democratic side, we have 1 state representative, Bee Wynn. She serves in Fulton DeKalb. She actually holds Stacey Abrams' former state house seat. Michael Owens, who is our former party chair, John Eves, who is the former chairman of Fulton County, and also was a candidate for Congressional District 7 in Gwinnett County last year. Manswell Peterson, I believe, is an insurance broker out of Albany. And then Floyd Griffin is a former state senator and former mayor of Milledgeville in South Central Georgia. So the 5 of them have declared for Secretary of State. On the Republican side, Raffensperger will face Jody Heiss, who is the current Athens, East Georgia congressman, David Belle-Isle, who was his opponent back in 2018 and is the former mayor of Alpharetta. And then Tory Hudson. I honestly couldn't find anything about Tory Hudson. So that is the Republican and Democrat fields at this point in time for Secretary of State. Agriculture Commissioner, we do have an open seat for this. Gary Black is running against Warnock for Senate. So on the Democratic side, we have 3 candidates declared so far. Nikita Hemingway is she's a flower farmer. She grows giant kind of flower farms out in Decula. She's a former state house candidate. Deborah Jackson is the former mayor of Lithonia in DeKalb County. And Fred Swan is our 2018 nominee for this seat. And then Tyler Harper is the only Republican declared candidate. He is a state senator from South Georgia, who is also currently the chairman of the Agriculture Committee in the state Senate. Insurance Commissioner. As of yesterday, we just got a 3rd candidate in this race. So Janice Laws is our 2018 nominee. She is an insurance broker in Noonan. Derek Wilson is an insurance broker in Snellville in East Gwinnett. He's a former county commission candidate. And then Matthew Wilson is, he actually goes by Matthew, not Matt. I should have corrected that. He is the current state representative for Brookhaven. On the Republican side, this is actually probably one of the more interesting Republican primaries. John King is the incumbent. He became the incumbent when Jim Beck was suspended for federal charges. But Jim Beck is trying to run back into his seat despite federal charges. And we'll be facing John King in the primary. John King is the former police chief of one of the North DeKalb cities. I think it's Doraville, but don't quote me on that. Labor Commissioner. Once again, we've already got 3. Lester Jackson is the state senator from Savannah. William Bodie is the state representative for South Fulton. And Nicole Horn is an activist from DeKalb County and the chair of Indivisible 5. On the Republican side, the incumbent Mark Butler will face primaries. Bruce Thompson is the state senator for a little bit of Cobb County. He's mainly Bartow County to our north. And then Kartik Bhatt will also be running for that seat. Second to last, state superintendent. As of this week, we do have a new candidate on our side. We did not have a candidate. Shahaf filed paperwork to go ahead and run for state superintendent. And then on the Republican side, the incumbent Richard Woods will be facing off against John Barge, who is the former state superintendent for re-election to the seat. And lastly, our public service commissioners. This year we'll be electing 2 of them. If you recall, last year we were electing, or 2020, we were electing the other 3. In a little bit of a surprise, we had a last minute resignation from one of our PSC seats a few months ago. Fitz Johnson, who was a former Cobb Commission candidate on the Republican side, he was Jericho's opponent, was appointed into that seat. So Fitz now serves on the Public Service Commission. He does not yet have a Democratic opponent. And then Tim Eccles is a longtime commissioner for the east side of Georgia, and Patty Durant has declared as his challenger. I did want to highlight, and this just goes back to the fact of how many of these candidates we have and how many of them are about to try to flood coming to our meetings and meeting you all. This is just a map of where they all are. I'll point out, it's maybe a little bit hard to see. There are only 3 of these 24 candidates who are not in the metro counties. The old Milledgeville mayor for Secretary of State, the insurance commissioner from insurance agent from Albany, and the state senator from Savannah. Otherwise, everyone is in Gwinnett, DeKalb, Fulton, or Cobb, with Janice down in Noonan as well. And so, again, there are 24 of these candidates announced. There may be more. We may see some of these primaries get up to 7 or 8 people. The fact that most of them already have 3, 4, 5, or 6 candidates means that most of them will go into runoffs. So we are in for a long haul when it comes to our primaries. So just wanted everyone to kind of start to be thinking about these races. We'll start putting these candidates in front of you guys starting in January. But know at this point that almost everyone is facing a 5 or 6 person primary to become our nominee. So any looming questions from the audience? I think I'm good. I appear to be good.
So we've got our work cut out for us in trying to design programs and meetings where we don't just have, you know, a million candidates speaking, but we'll be working on finalizing that program and those offerings starting probably in a few weeks here. So thank you for that, Matthew.
Yep.
And now we're going to pivot back to the municipal elections that we're looking at right now coming up. I wanted to get you all some more voting information here. So again, we encourage everyone, Election Day is November 2nd and early voting starts this Tuesday. So we are encouraging everyone to make a vote plan, and you can do that, get all the information you need on all your options at bit.ly/Cobb election 2021. So please go there and get all that information. I'll briefly run through some of it here. In-person advanced voting starts on Tuesday, like I said, and we'll run through Friday, October 29th. Monday through Friday, we're looking at weekdays, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And there will be 2 Saturdays, 9 a.m. and to 5 p.m. where you can vote. There is no Sunday voting. There are 7 locations in the county, 1 in each municipality that's holding elections and 2 in unincorporated Cobb to cover the EdSplosh voters. But you can go to any one of those 7 locations and vote. You don't have to, you know, wherever, choose a location most convenient to you, wherever you work, wherever you live, it's your choice. And finally, on absentee voting, so as has been explained, there are very tight windows for this. So if you are interested in doing a vote by mail or absentee voting, we encourage you to apply for that ballot today. And you again can go to Cobb election 2021 and get information on how to do that. But you can still vote absentee. You just have to pay attention to those dates, deadlines, and shorter windows. And again, make a plan. So if you want to vote absentee, apply for that ballot today. The window's tight. They begin mailing out ballots this Monday, 3 weeks ahead of Election Day. So considering postal transmission times, ballots will likely not be in voters' hands until the end of this coming week of early voting, if you've already applied. But the longer you delay in applying, of course, the more that date moves out for when you'll actually have a ballot in hand. And so remember that these ballots have to be returned to the Elections Department by 7 p.m. on Election Day, November 2nd. So the Board of Elections has approved the placement of 6 drop boxes in the county. And those are located inside the early vote sites, except for the Smyrna location, which is that yellow dot down in the lower right quadrant there. That Smyrna location, early vote location, will not have a drop box, but all other locations will. And those drop boxes are inside, so they are only available 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, when early voting is in session, and they will be available on the 2 Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If there is a pilot program underway, or that will be implemented in the last week of early voting using these 3 libraries listed: West Cobb Regional, Powder Springs, and East Cobb Regional. So you can go drop your ballot. There will be an absentee ballot clerk at those 3 libraries on the days stated from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And you can drop your absentee ballot there as well. Now, the extra added benefit of this pilot program is once the early vote locations close on Friday, October 29th at 7 p.m., you have limited options for returning a ballot if you still have your ballot in hand. These libraries will be open on the Saturday, October 30th, so you can always go to one of the libraries and drop your ballot. Or on the Monday before Election Day, you would have to go to the libraries to do that. And so these are very good options if you don't happen to get your ballot in time or for early voting, excuse me, while it's in session. Now, if you find yourself with a ballot after early vote has closed, do not put it in the mail. There is just not enough time, excuse me, for it to get to Cobb Elections by 7 p.m. So please hand deliver it to one of those libraries or to the Cobb Elections office, the main office, where you can do that on Monday or Tuesday, Election Day, all the way up during normal office hours. So this is a lot of information about delivering absentee ballots and the location and hours of the early vote sites. But again, if you go to bit.ly Cobb Election 2021, you can find all that information there. So we'd encourage you to make a vote plan and head over there. Finally, I wanted to wrap up with some of our upcoming events. So Cobb Democrats is a proud sponsor of the Welcome to South Cobb Festival, which is taking place today, this morning, as we speak, down at the Eddy and Riverview Landing. We have a booth and volunteers there that, again, can provide all the voting information you want, where to go, resources, information about candidates and about our organization in general. It looks like a fabulous event. It's a beautiful location right on the river. They'll have food, activities, and entertainment. So we would encourage you to stop by that festival. Finally, we have lit drops and social distance canvassing. This is what Matthew is doing in our office this morning. He is launching canvassing. We can get you set up with lists and knock on doors. We need your help in getting good candidates elected in these municipal elections. We are hitting the streets of Marietta today, I believe, Matthew, is that right? Yeah. So if you want to head out and knock on a few doors and get some good candidates elected to Marietta City Council, please stop by our office and see Matthew. He'll be there until 2:30 today, I think. Is that right? Yeah. So please, and we will be doing this every Saturday and every Sunday through Election Day. So please volunteer for a few hours and help us get this done. So important, these local elections. With respect to party business, I wanted to announce that we have a special election. We have a vacancy in a state committee seat. One of our state committee members had to resign that seat, unfortunately, because they moved. They moved out of Cobb County Commission District 1. Now, the state committee is the state party, the Democratic Party of Georgia's governing body. And the Cobb County Democrats send a delegation of 16 to that body, 4 people per county commission district. So now we have a vacancy in Cobb Commission District 1. We will be holding a special election at our business meeting on November 16th at 7 o'clock via Zoom to fill that vacancy. Now, anybody who resides in Cobb County Commission District 1 and swears to be a Democrat, we have an affidavit that you have to sign that does declare that you are a Democrat. And we'll do some basic research to verify that fact. But anybody living in the district who declares to be a Democrat can run for that seat. You do not have to be a member of the Cobb County Democratic Party. You do not have to be a voting committee member of the Cobb County Democratic Party. And you can run for that seat. So we have loaded up the state committee application onto our webpage, cobbdemocrats.org. I have one more slide here I'll show you. If you don't know what commission district you live in, this is just a basic map to give you a general idea, but please be sure and reach out to us and we can verify what commission district you live in if you're interested in running for that seat. Kelly Gambrill is the Cobb County Commissioner for District 1. So if she's your commissioner, then you live in District 1. But like I say, this application, if you want to be a candidate, is loaded up onto our homepage, cobbdemocrats.org. So please go there and fill out the application and we'll be in touch with you as we see those come in. We will also be approving new voting committee members for the Cobb County Democratic Committee at that Q4 business meeting, and you will find the application for that as well. And that's just a way of upping your game, engaging more with the Cobb County Democratic Party, is becoming a voting committee member. So a few important dates coming up to wrap up. Election Day, November 2nd. If you hadn't caught on already through this last hour and a half of presentations. A Q4 business meeting on November 16th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. And those business meetings are for our voting committee members. They're not public meetings that will be broadcast on Facebook Live. So we're looking to all of our post seat holders, voting committee members to join us for that meeting. And then we have Donuts with Democrats on January 8th. And fingers crossed, we will be back at the Smyrna Community Center for an in-person meeting. We will provide donuts and coffee, no more virtual donuts or virtual coffee. So put that on your calendars and stay tuned for announcements, newsletter, webpage for that meeting as we develop that program. And I think that's, we got to finish up with a fundraising ask. So all of these programs that we're putting together, candidate platforms, getting this information out to you, it's not free. We have to pay for all of this, whether it be software platforms or the rent or donuts even. So we kindly ask, if you're able, that you donate to us. We are completely self-funding. We get no money from the state party. We get no money from the national party. We rely on membership fees and the donations that you give us. So follow this bit.ly link. And if you're able, like I say, please give us $5, $10, whatever you're able to do. Every little bit counts. And it gives us lit, canvassing lit that Matt gets printed up to get the information out for canvassing about our candidates. So we thank you all for joining us this morning. And if there are any questions, or Matthew, Sharon, if you have anything to add.
Nope, all good.
Rule, any last minute questions we got popping up?
No questions.
All right, well, great. It's a beautiful day out there. Go out and enjoy this fabulous fall weather, and hope to see you at the Welcome to South Cobb Festival if you have an extra hour or so. All right, take care, everyone, and thank you.